everybody. Welcome back. Today is April 14th, and we're doing business and social media stories for the middle of your week.
As the U.S. spirals further into economic collapse.
And it's probably not going to get a lot better for the average worker, because now we're not pretending anymore. We're just going to let AI take over everything. And now we're even saying like, oh, you're firing some employees? That used to be bad. Remember when that was bad?
Microsoft puts some ousted employees on a 2-year block list and counts them as quote-unquote good attrition, internal document shows. This article talks a lot about how this is similar to what Amazon does. Amazon is like, oh, it's good attrition. We're doing good turnover here for certain kinds of employees.
And perhaps another indicator that things are getting bad, and not just for the poors.
Something alarming is happening to the job market. A new sign that AIs are competing with college grads. This is an Atlantic article that talks about MBAs. And it's like, oh, throughout history, MBAs have always been able to get a job, but not now. And it's like,
But grads in general are 4.8% unemployment, which is really high.
Yeah.
I thought it was 5 point something.
What was it?
Either way, it's a decent number.
5.8.
Oh, yeah, 5.8. Well, it's even worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The historical high, I think, was 4.7.
So we're beating the historical high. Congratulations, everybody.
Also, I think like in the 80s, like remember the beginning of the 80s, it was like the 70s energy crisis and then all the insanity. There's a lot of indicators that the economy looks like it did then, which is alarming.
There was no AI in the 70s.
No.
That's going to be a big difference. And we got to feed that AI, and because we have to feed that AI, now everybody wants unlimited power.
Google to fund development of 3 nuclear power sites, which is amazing. But these are smaller reactors, only 600 megawatts.
Fluoride, right?
Yeah.
Fluoride instead of thorium, which is what the Chinese claim to have gotten working recently. It's good to have options, I guess.
It is good also that I guess we're to a point where these companies are so wealthy that they can take it upon themselves to build whatever industry they need in order to support themselves instead of sucking everything else dry.
Yeah, but they'll just keep that for themselves as well.
Right.
And everything else will languish.
I am slightly annoyed that the cost of electricity has gone from like 3 or 4 cents a kilowatt hour to like 15 cents a kilowatt hour because, you know, we're not building any new electrical capacity and all of these demands on the electrical capacity.
Yeah, and that'll probably just keep getting worse because they'll just build their own and then be like, no, it's not for the people.
Now, if you were someone who's flying during the horrible CrowdStrike outage, you probably had a really bad time. And if you were flying with Delta Airlines, you had an exceptionally bad time. But there might be, you might get something back.
Delta Airlines class action cleared for takeoff over CrowdStrike chaos, according to the Register. This is really interesting because part of the reason that this is going to be allowed to proceed is because Delta refused help from both Microsoft and CrowdStrike. And I thought that it was interesting that the judge called that out specifically to say, hey, you might have been able to resolve this situation a lot more satisfactorily. Even with that, or even without that, Delta did not fully compensate people that had their tickets changed or have to deal with lodging or anything like that. There's a contract of carriage aspect of this. And so Delta has basically shafted everybody, according to the suit.
And you might think that was the worst CrowdStrike headline that we could show you this week, right? But no.
CrowdStrike announces 5% job cuts and says AI is reshaping every industry. Yeah.
Yeah, the shape is much smaller. A much smaller shape.
Also, the reason, we talked about scaling back the data center build out. And one of the reasons that the data center scale out is happening is because Microsoft and OpenAI and Claude and Anthropic, all the Anthropic makes Claude, and all the other AI companies have realized that the average person could benefit from last year's AI model or the year before's AI model. Not everybody needs the giant fire-breathing AI model in order to be more productive. So.
And one company that's not necessarily being more productive, but they are making more money, and they're doing it in a way that has really pissed off literally everybody. But that wasn't enough. They have to take it further at least once a month.
Ars Technica headline is VMware perpetual license holders receive cease-and-desist letters from Broadcom. But I have a perpetual license. What would I have to cease and desist doing? Broadcom says that when your license support expires, you're not allowed to get updates anymore, even if they're making updates for that version that you perpetually licensed.
They also say, and this is just, this is the cherry. They retain the rights to audit your installation to make sure you're not updating.
It's wild, too, because they reinstated the free version of ESXi because customers are abandoning VMware at record pace. It's still the case that VMware is class and industry leading in certain very high-end features of hypervisor, and really not even the hypervisor, like the full, networking stack integration with the hypervisor and like the whole cluster, distributed storage enchilada. There's really not a lot of things that fully compete with that out there the way that the VMware is. But boy, howdy, there are a lot of companies pouring a lot of money into products that will compete. So this is one for the history books.
And here's your weekly reminder that if your television can update on its own and you don't control the software that's on it, or even if it even has software on it, you're going to have a bad time.
Software update makes HDR content unwatchable on Roku TVs. And we also discovered that Roku doesn't really make it easy for people to roll back to a previous version.
Now, this is not on the TV per se. This is only on Roku apps. If you plug into an input on the TV and just run your own stuff to it, HDR is fine. But through a Roku app, totally broken. And apparently the support people, who, let's face it, are not at Roku, they're probably in India somewhere, at this point are just hanging up on people.
You know what the better solution is? Buy one of those cheap mini PCs that we do videos on fairly regularly and plug that into a normal TV. And then you won't have to deal with any of this kind of shenanigan.
But then I can't have my apps. I can't have my Netflix.
That's introducing tools like this.
Yeah, my Netflix has great new features.
Netflix debuts its generative AI-powered search tool.
Who asked for this?
What is the generative portion here? I was hoping this would be a feature like, show me something that's vaguely like Star Trek that I've never heard of.
Man, I think it is that kind of thing, right? It's just...
But it's generative. Like, what's it generating?
Is that just a mistaken
maybe
editor for the headline, perhaps? But
and yeah, all this news is bad, because most of the news these days is bad, because the world is spiraling. But here's a flicker of hope.
woo!
Don't embrace it too much, because you could get really disappointed here. But maybe there's a chance.
Half-Life 3 reportedly is playable in its entirety and could be announced this year, maybe in summer with a fall debut.
I saw this and was like really excited, and then I was like, nothing good ever happens. This is like fake battery tech. This is just bait.
So the dude who figured out Alex first,
Right.
he is now saying he believes, he's talking to insiders at Valve who can't name because, obvious reasons. He's saying it's done, it's feature complete, they're testing it. And it's not going to be VR, it's going to be traditional.
It's hard for me to imagine a satisfying end to that story because it's just so bleak.
That would be the best story, it would be the one you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Let's hope.
It's only been like 20 years.
Yeah, we got a couple of design stories this week.
Google accidentally reveals Android's Material 3 Expressive interface ahead of Google I/O.
What do you think?
It's fine.
I like the task manager thingy. The task manager thingy is the most excited, thing that I'm most excited for. There's like a little icon bar along the bottom for your open applications.
They really went pink with the demo, huh?
I imagine you can probably change that. Did you notice I got an update for my phone this week that was terrible?
I haven't gotten it yet.
It like changes so the background colors are all really dark, but the icons are also dark, so it's like really hard to read. It's like low contrast.
Trying to save those OLED screens.
I guess, yeah.
And another, I know you use this one,
I do
Krista,
use.
and they are, I'm sure you're aware, cramming it full of AI.
Oh my gosh.
Figma's big AI update takes on Adobe, WordPress, and Canva.
I haven't seen anybody excited about this in the design community. Everyone's just kind of like, but I still can't make prototypes with like fillable text. Like I want to have better prototyping tools, and you're just filling it with garbage features.
Don't worry about that, because it's going to have the ability to just take your work and build it into active HTML with AI.
Well, I've seen posts about that too, and it's basically you've managed to invent Dreamweaver 2.0 because they're like everything is a div. Like literally everything is just a div. So I mean, it technically it works, but you're gonna have to go in and probably fix it afterward. It might get better with time, but nobody's really excited about it.
Hand
yet.
that off to a different LLM and have it convert.
Yeah.
And Apple, what is Apple up to? Their watches aren't selling. They don't have a language model. They're treading water. iPhones are all coming from China. What are they going to do? This is apparently their Hail Mary.
Apple is planning smart glasses, both with and without augmented reality.
Which sounds exactly like what Meta has,
Yeah.
as they point out.
Yeah, Tim Cook really is obsessed with the whole augmented reality thing, and he's kind of, rumor has it that he's tried the Meta Ray-Ban glasses and has actually been impressed with them and what they do and blah blah blah.
If it's got a little Apple on it somewhere and it's a distinct style, they'll sell a decent amount of them just from the sycophants, right?
What if they do like glasses, but it's got like the bite out of it, like that, like that's the shape. Somebody patent that.
And then somebody falls and one of the sharp corners from the apple gets
in their eye.
eyeball.
Who could have foreseen this?
If you are one of the people who's been replaced with AI, maybe you need a really budget graphics card to get you through the hard times. NVIDIA's maybe going to let you have this.
NVIDIA will release the $299 RTX 5060 on May 19th, which happens to be Computex, which is probably where I'm going to be on May 19th. But it's weird, though, don't you think, when like everybody that could review this card is physically at Computex, and like I don't have one. I don't have drivers for one. There's not. It seems like Nvidia doesn't want anybody to benchmark or test this card because all the reviewers will be like, "Oh, it's 8 gigs and it's slow."
Another thing that might be slow now that we know the specs of it is something that Nintendo does not want anybody talking about except for them, and they are famously litigious.
Nintendo is suing the accessory maker that showed off Switch 2 early. A 3D printed mock-up of the then unannounced Switch 2 was widely circulated in January. So Nintendo is out for their pound of blood.
Their pound of blood.
Ginky? I guess you would pronounce that Ginky. So Ginky is like an official accessory maker for the Switch, and they had an early model. Now, they didn't show you the early model, but they wanted to show off their accessories. They were excited about them. So they 3D printed the thing that looked like the Switch to attach their little accessories to, and Nintendo was like, no, we're going to destroy you. We're going to salt the earth that you stand on for doing that.
Which is disappointing that that's what Nintendo has become. I mean, really, come on, Nintendo.
Become, that's who they've always been.
I don't think they were always like that, but yeah.
And we can't go a week without somebody just dunking on Tesla because people are not buying them quite as much.
Tesla sales plunge in both China and Europe. Yeah.
Those Chinese cars really seem to be competing with them. Although some people also claim that those are terrible in a lot of ways. But aren't Teslas terrible in a lot of ways?
Yeah. I don't know if can you get much worse than a Tesla? Don't they have the worst safety data?
Did you see the Chinese jets were apparently very effective in that whole India-Pakistan thing?
That was crazy where they said that they had dogfights that lasted hours and hundreds of jets. What did that cost? Going to be a big year for Raytheon, right?
Or the Chinese company that made the...
And the Apple, like I said, they're not doing great. And the spell might be breaking as people's wallets are broken.
Apple watching significant global decline for 2 years now. New features needed because, everybody is not interested in the same watch.
So 2021, 27% increase. 2022, 0. And now 23, 10%. And 24, 19%. It's accelerating. I would like to believe that's because people don't want spies on their wrist, but I don't think that's the reason. And if you are looking to really downgrade once Windows 10 is over, you're going to be in trouble.
Linux drops support for 486 and early Pentium processors 20 years after Microsoft. That might be a fun video. It's just trying to see if we can boot up modern Linux on a 486 DX2. It'll probably take an hour to boot the machine.
And Microsoft is doing at a time when I would think you would want to introduce budget options in your lineup, they are deciding to do the exact opposite of that.
Microsoft effectively raises high-end Surface prices by discontinuing base models. No more 256 gig models. Woo!
Do you think that's just like it's not cost effective after a certain
Well,
point.
256 is really limiting in the modern day.
1 terabyte of storage is like less than a $50 BOM cost. It's criminal not having at least a terabyte in a device these days.
And yeah, content moderation is clearly a problem, but what are we going to do about it?
Researchers call for a new way of thinking about content moderation.
This was mostly to, like, they make some suggestions. I don't know how realistic they are. But what they point out here is that Facebook, what they discovered is you got 48 hours for Facebook to take the thing down. What they measured is that 3/4 of the people who were going to see it had seen it by the time it was taken down. So, like, we're going to all this trouble, but based on the timing, does it even matter?
I like community notes.
I mean, the governments are going to say, well, clearly it needs to be 24 minutes, right?
And then they break the internet.
And Zuckerberg is continuing down this path where he says, yeah, I know nobody uses Facebook to talk to their friends and family anymore, but that's okay. We're just going to replace them.
Zuckerberg's grand vision: most of your friends will be AI.
He's talking about himself there, and he thinks that's normal.
I was like, did he literally say that? And he basically did. I thought that was misleading, but no, he really did say that.
He says that we have a higher capacity for friends. We have a higher friends roster than we actually have friends, so we should fill those in with AI. Everybody should have 15.
Yeah, I was like, where the hell did you get that number from? Like, did you just make it up to pull it out of your ass? Like,
I wouldn't be friends with AI, but I have literally built agents that trawl eBay and other places for like specific used kit. They're not friends, but they have a purpose in life. It's like, what is my purpose? You pass butter. It's like that.
No, but he wants you to just be friends with Facebook's AI. That's moron.
And they got a win because there was really not much wiggle room once everything came out in court about exactly what NSO Group was doing to WhatsApp.
NSO Group must pay more than $167 million in damages to WhatsApp for spyware campaign. I really wish some portion of that was going to go to the end users that were affected by this, but WhatsApp argued that they spent more than $400,000 in programmer time just the first time an incident with this came up.
End users? That would be like if you damage some products in shipping, you pay the money to the products. And yeah, we got a little trouble in India and Pakistan. They're not having a good time. And they have really been kind of stepping it up alarmingly. And of course, that means government censorship, right?
8,000 X accounts, Twitter, blocked in India amid Pakistan launching attack on multiple locations, including Jammu. This included journalists as well.
It always does, doesn't it? So Twitter made this statement, and they're like, yeah, okay, we're sorry, we know. But if we don't do this, they're probably going to lock up our employees. So what can we do? You can pull out of the country. And they've labeled it PSMU problematic social media use. Now, it's not a disease yet, but they're lobbying to get that in the psychological, the DSM.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they say if you are one of those people, if you have those symptoms, you're probably not very good at telling the truth from fiction.
Belief in fake news linked to problematic social media use.
What if I just want to believe fake news? Like, what if I just spread it around? I spread a little misinformation.
Well, you have to follow these other guidelines.
Does it have a disease for me? Is that just trolling?
You have to be like on social media a certain amount of time, and some other very alarming behaviors. But you know that all leads into, oh, you know what? Let's rearrange this. Oh, did I miss?
It was in Nonsense. You've got.
Oh, okay.
There's this amazing story in Nonsense that's about social media use and things.
Yeah, but let's instead talk about TikTok, where you are trying to exploit anything to get those clicks.
TikTok's quote-unquote Jesus glow trend exposes the emptiness of social media religion. Like, these are people's like, oh, and look, now I glow because I found religion.
So if you're a gothed out girl dressing kind of slutty, oh, look what you become. Trad girl, and you're more beautiful, which I don't even know if that's even more beautiful. And this chick was a bodybuilder with dark hair, and then by the power of Jesus, boom, look at that.
The whole tradwife thing on TikTok is very strange to me. Like, I almost don't think it's like organic.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Like, I think it's state sponsored.
I'm going to say this, and this might be controversial. I'm not sure that goth girl is really that into Jesus.
Yeah.
Don't know that she follows.
What happened to reasonableness? Like, how can I advocate for reasonableness in this crazy mixed up world?
What happened to reasonableness on TikTok?
I don't think it's ever been
Just
there.
in the world. Like,
The other side of that is like the people who do the crazy beauty treatments. Have you seen some of those? Like the red light mask. There's literally like they sell these masks that are just red lights, and you put it on and you look like a serial killer.
But I've read about the red light thing, and I think there's some scientific journals that have actually there's something about the red light.
I don't understand how that can be true while also being like the thing that ages you the most is light, like UV light.
vitamin D production.
I don't know.
It could be useful for vitamin D production, right? How much of what?
Well, we have like a
wavelength of
big jump in skin cancer after people are using these for like 10 years. Like,
Well, red should be infrared, so not ultraviolet.
We did a story about there was a red light. Maybe during COVID there was a red light explosion. People were into.
yeah, it seems like it's a new fad. Like, and then the other people are like, oh, but if you do different colors, it's better for you in different ways. And so now there's like masks that basically like the inside of your PC case, but you put it on your face, and I'm baffled by it.
We should manufacture a PC case where all the RGB is that kind of red light.
And then you can, yeah, that's how you get your, I
It's,
don't know, whatever that is that's supposed to be good for you.
it's funny you say that because in the early days of the RGB craze, there were UV lights, and the UV lights aged and deteriorated the inside of your machine. So you literally just
Your plastic degraded.
you aged the PCB, and you made the plastic brittle, and the connectors would shatter. It was amazing. It was an amazing time.
Well, if you are into that kind of thing, if you like watching goth girls turn into trad girls, don't worry, it's not going away.
Trump says he'll extend TikTok deadline again as ByteDance divestiture talks stall over tariffs. Yeah, there's a lot of craziness going on with the tariffs.
People will be really angry if we get rid of TikTok, and I don't want that kind of heat.
He says he's got a special place in his heart for it because it allows him to communicate with the youth.
Also, that reminds me, welcome to all of the new shipping, the people from the shipping industry in our audience, the people that used to work the docks, unloading the containers and loading up the trucks or driving the trucks. Not as much of that going on these days.
Not feeling good about it.
Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday for a little nonsense to like lighten the mood a little.
But also AI, which
Which,
should be the opposite of
yeah,
that.
it's kind of, it's a net somewhere in the middle. Anyway, bye!